Starfield came out nearly 3 years ago, and I've been wanting to revisit and see if the game has fixed any of its issues from launch. I've had this long-running theory that Starfield came out at the worst possible time. It was sandwiched between Baldur's Gate 3 and the Phantom Liberty DLC. Both of these were very critically acclaimed for their RPG and story elements. Starfield, on the other hand, was a Bethesda game. It was meant to be a great RPG and narrative in a world that was exciting to explore. I mean, that's what Bethesda wanted the game to be. It didn't really land there though. We ended up with a semi-fun narrative, set in a plethora of empty worlds, gated by countless loading screens and jank. Well, it's been nearly 3 years since its launch, and I've been getting an urge to revisit this game. There have been a number of quality of life updates and expansions, so I'm excited to see, with a clean gaming palette, has Starfield improved, or is it still stuck in that limbo of what could be? Before we start this video, I just want to reiterate that I had no problem with Starfield's world and narrative or even its setting. I was really excited for those types of things. The issue that I had on launch, and I'm wondering if they've made these things better, is all the other things. The UI, the constant load screens, the just vapid worlds. Have they addressed this after almost 3+ years? This is the goal of the video. This is what I'm hoping to find. So without any more delay, let's get into it. Okay, it's been a while. Let's start a new game. One of the biggest reasons I've been craving to come back to play this game was my reading of the Expanse series over the summer. So to save time, I just made James Holden in character customization and gave him my mustache. I gave him the traits I presumed James Holden would have: former hauler, space sheriff, captain. I start up in the mining tutorial. I'm forced to do this, so bear with me. Immediately we come across a cave-in and a secret artifact that takes me on a super mind-bending trip. I come out of the trip and I'm greeted by my manager and work bestie, saying I've been out a while and an organization called Constellation has an interest in these artifacts and are coming to take it off our hands. This man and Starfield's best interpretation of TARS come waddling over and say, "Hey man, how was the trip?" Mid-convo, space pirates show up and I single-handedly take them all down. But no one seems to acknowledge that for some reason, so they are convinced the pirates will keep coming. So Barrett, the man from Constellation, gives me TARS and his ship, which is notably the second time I've been given a giant ship just for shooting some pirates. But as they say in San Diego, a free ship is a free ship. Barrett wants me to leave while he stays and deals with the continuing pirate problem. I head off to space and deal with my first notable loading screen. I get the basic how-tos on ship piloting. I don't know if ship handling got revamped, but this feels easier than I remember. Not as clean as something like No Man's Sky, but maybe that is just too easy to compare to. We are then ushered to a planet to root out the source of these pirates, where I rediscover two things. One, this is a big, open, vast nothingness with a random point of interest in the middle. And two, I spend way too long looting, so I'll need to consciously not loot this run. I get through this building much faster than I did on launch based on this rule. As I leave the facility, a man in a cool helmet greets me, telling me he will be confiscating everything I have. I say no sir, and somehow that works. The issue is he has a cool helmet, so I shoot him for it. The bigger problem was he didn't drop said helmet. This was a major disappointment. I finish off the last pirate with my last bit of ammo and I head to Constellation's home base in the city of Jemison. Quick editing interlude. For some reason I keep referring to New Atlantic City as Jemison. Jemison's the planet. It's New Atlantic City though. Don't know why I did this. Late night script writing is the bane of me, I guess. Second issue, I refer to the ship's cost as 15K. It's 25K. Also don't know why I did this. Just keep that in mind going forward. Back to the video. A very sleepy woman greets me at arrival and mentions how famous I am, which is weird since I'm just a miner. I pass her by to experience a mob of people chatting ahead. I want to feel immersed, so I try to go into first-person mode, but I accidentally punch one of them and it turns out the city has a shoot-on-sight policy. I'm holding my ground surprisingly well until I black out, and it turns out it was all a dream.
Hey, you're finally awake.
I really love exploring modern open world cities. They're always expansive and teeming with things to do. Jemison from a glance looks the part of a city, but I've always felt like the novelty of this large city was ruined by the loading screen segmenting it. I have a similar gripe with Neon. I meet this cool looking Halo Reach character at a bar. He's giving he wants to be cooler than he actually is, peaked in high school energy, and then abruptly ends our convo as an aura farming move. This annoys me tremendously, so I guess it worked, and I head to my mission, Constellation HQ. This is where I meet Daenerys Targaryen, and I get some pretty bad dialogue.
Oh my god, that's it. They're reacting. Look at how it's coming together.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm officially inducted into Constellation, blah blah blah. Danny joins my team and I'm about done with the tutorial at this point. I want to check out the revamps. I notice immediately as I look to leave the city that in fact there is a change to the map system. There's a surface map that actually holds detail. This is a good sign, but accessing it is already starting to annoy me, and moving around on it, at least on controller, feels horrible. This will be a reoccurring issue. Before I leave, I talk to the shipman and he mentions a vehicle for 15k. I don't remember this option previously. I declined the offer, but am curious about this. Is this new?
I'm officially in inquisitive mode.
I get to a space station where I need to slay some foes, but quickly notice there's no minimap or surface map for stations. Now, before you come at me with, why would a space station you've never visited have some form of easily accessible map?
This game is set in 2330. We are a spacefaring civilization with very advanced technology. Why can't I have a mini-map of any sorts?
I don't need to have an already filled out map, but in a game where the space station basically looks the same throughout, broadly speaking, since the hallways are universally the same, and in a game where looting and swapping gear and menus is incentivized, having a resource that can let me know where I've been and not yet explored would help out a lot. At this point I'm starting to get frustrated with the game. We're only at like hour 2 of my return, but unfortunately this isn't the end of my map problems. I loosely keep following the main storyline and end up on Mars, where I persuade a barkeep, very easily might I say, to tell me the details on my quest target's disappearance. I don't remember speccing into persuasion skills, but I must have since these checks seem fairly easy. I discovered that lockpicking seems familiar, and I've either gotten smarter since the last time I played this game, or lockpicking got easier, as these take a fraction of the time they used to.
I'm leaning on it was probably made easier.
I get a familiar side quest from a spunky merchant to go check on his late merchandise. I note the surface map for the city is also here. Cool. I follow the merchant's directions to his lost spaceship, and I begin to see what that 15k ship's purpose was. Without enhanced boost pack capabilities, walking a few kilometers on a planet's surface is extremely void and boring. I will make sure when I return to pick that up immediately. I wrap that quest, and before I head back to Jemison, I get an urge to explore Earth, to see if I can find ruins of our past civilization.
Do not do this. I repeat, do not do this.
There seems to be no evidence this planet was inhabited for thousands of years, and I wasted way too much time, especially since I didn't have my 15k roamer yet. I would like to note that Bethesda is known for games like Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Oblivion, Skyrim, and that one time they did Fallout again.
That didn't really pan out so great though.
But point is, they're most known for 2 universes, a post-apocalyptic hellscape and the granddaddies of fantasy-based RPGs. In both of these super renowned universes, they have built open worlds that I would argue are a large part of why Bethesda and these games have appeal. They are vast and teeming with handmade points of interest, lore, and fun characters and quests. In Starfield, most of that magic of exploration is removed due to procedural generation of their worlds, and barren planets like Earth are the worst offenders as their points of interest are significantly more lackluster. So after a stupid amount of time of hoping to find anything, I give up and follow the mission to another space station full of bad guys, and I get lost again, and am reminded this is a Bethesda game as my carrying capacity limits factor in. I get taught how to board ships. Ship stuff is still cool in this game, and I mistakenly start what I believe is the Shattered Space DLC. I'm not 100% on this, but the design of the station you board, the tone of the narrative being spun, and the fact that the enemies are like 40 levels higher than me makes me somewhat certain. The mission design felt haunting as you float through zero-G into a horror den, and I was enthralled with the budding narrative. I said the Expanse inspired me to recheck this out,
but god damn, this feels like it's pulled straight from that series, and to be honest, it's probably why the roots of this story felt so engaging to me.
Before I gave up due to my lack of power, I picked up some gun from this at the early stages. This will be important for later. And then continue with the main storyline of the game, rescuing Barrett and my BFF Miner from the capture of space pirates. I will say, telling myself I shouldn't loot that much really skims like 60% of the mission time off.
I vividly remember a lot of these quests being a lot more drawn out, but with this no looting rule set, they've been significantly streamlined.
I find Barrett with a bunch of high-ranking Crimson Fleet members just chatting. I asked them if they could pretty please just let Barrett go, and for the 3rd time now, that works. They seem more leveled and geared than me, so I don't reenact the scene from earlier, but it is weird that I can basically loot their whole base in front of them with no problems. Barrett is back on the team and we head back to Constellation, and they were worried sick.
Barrett, oh, worried sick.
See, they were worried sick.
The most pressing issue must now be addressed. We need that space buggy. I dropped 15k, no problem, and I notice it just spawns in the city immediately. This seems reckless, but I take it for a joyride. And well, it was reckless. I do learn that this thing has comical boosts, and after nearly clearing out this district of Jemison, it turns out it was all just a dream once again.
Hey, you're finally awake.
At this point, I need to lock back in.
I head out to loosely follow the main story again. I meet another member of the team and I stumble upon another area that makes me pull my hair out. No joke, I run around this cave like 6 times trying to figure out where I need to go. Please make some form of minimap accessible inside these places. Not only does the cave roughly all look the same, it's dark, so everything is blending together. This culminates in me losing my mind.
At this point, I'm hitting a breaking point with Starfield. Not only are the surface level maps surface level, the UI and the loading screens are really starting to get to me.
These quests have me hopping from station to station in different galaxies to speak to people, and there's like 15 loading screens in between. Also, if I'm on a planet's surface, when I open up the map, just show the planet surface first. The fact that I have to manually re-click planet surface every time I'm getting a bearing is frustrating beyond belief. Plus, in a game that is so attached to forcing you into loading screens and fast travel, the fact that to go to a base on another planet, I need to fast travel to orbit of that planet, then land, is silly, as it forces me to deal with 2 separate loading screens. If we can't do the No Man's Sky seamless space exploration thing, fine, but forcing me to constantly go into loading screens is infuriating. To be devil's advocate, this may not be a problem for most people, this may not bother them, but
I really like immersion. But goddamn, Starfield is truly, at this point, the antithesis of this.
Which is weird based on the genre and game design Starfield is based upon. It's not obvious that around 10 plus hours back in this game, I'm having a miserable time. But I want to push through and experience more. I randomly get hailed by a couple celebrating their anniversary and want to give me ship parts. I'm not invested enough to know the value of ship parts, but these type of interactions are what I love about Bethesda-like open world games. Similar moments in things like Red Dead Redemption 2, or more recently, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, pushed a lived-in world and makes you want to explore.
The issue is, in Starfield, these are reserved for in-city experiences or random hails like this one.
One of the novelties of this game is the space and planet exploration, but these are mostly vacuous experiences based on the scope and technical baseline that Bethesda utilized to fully realize this vision. I think this idea is amazing, but when fully realized, you miss a part of the charm of Bethesda games, the exploration of a detailed world, since the worlds are essentially detailless. Like, they definitely wanted a happy medium between No Man's Sky and something like Outer Worlds 2. The issue is that in between is kind of soulless in execution and reminds me of the parts of Mass Effect I really did not like. As I was getting near the 15-hour mark of Starfield, I was struggling. I happened upon a space casino. This place looked huge, but inside it was kind of puny. I did find my first contraband though, so that was cool, but I wasn't far enough along to have access to offload this or be able to have shields on my ship that I could transport this without getting caught. But it was like 100k plus worth of merchandise that I just couldn't leave behind. I will note, I ran out of bullets on most of my weapons and finally used that gun I stumbled upon on the start of the DLC mission. And goddamn, this thing was OP. It felt like what the ray gun feels like in zombies when you get it in an early level, so that perked me up quite a bit.
My main mission at this point was to try my buggy out. I wasn't gonna save my run or anything, but it would put a smile on my face, right?
I landed on a planet roughly following the main quest and hop in my buggy. I was really hoping this would handle like the Warthog in Halo 3. I basically want any buggy in space games to feel like that. That was truly the peak of human achievement for spacefaring buggy handling. Unfortunately, it was not, and I ran into my first issue with it. There are no mechanics that facilitate destruction of terrain, so on planets that aren't devoid of anything but moon dust, this is problematic. Positives though, there is a comically silly jump pack on the ship that just launches you straight up. As I explored the more vegetation-rich planet, I stumbled across my first alien creature.
This was dinosaur-like, but I've had these reoccurring nightmares since I was a child of dinosaurs chasing me. This is probably due to an early screening of Jurassic Park, but I'm no therapist.
This made that UC Vanguard mission with the Terramorph more exhilarating and one of my favorite missions in the game by far. I wasn't going to experience nearly as much of that thrill by shooting this thing, but why not? I did a bit more exploring, stumbled on an overworld factory and some low-level thugs. Played with my new gun a bit more and came to my conclusion.
I was done. With nearly 15 hours back into Starfield, it was clear that after 3 years, the game hasn't really changed that much.
came into this experience with one goal. Outside of the main story and faction quests, had Starfield improved the aspects that hurt its mass appeal nearly 3 years ago? And after 15 hours, I have to say, I really don't think so. I think Bethesda wanted to venture on new grounds, away from their tried and true series, and do something more expansive than they've ever attempted. The issue is, part of the charm of Bethesda games are their densely populated open worlds. They make the player want to explore and see what they can find.
The issue in Starfield is the open world is space, and that's devoid of anything.
You may stumble upon some chance encounters while flying from one load screen to another, but I think the inherent charm of Bethesda games are on worlds, and to achieve this level of realism of devoid space that Starfield was going for, we have devoid planets with generated points of interest. The only remnants of a Bethesda world are the towns, but Jemison feels way too small for a major city, and one of the cooler cities, Neon, is bogged down by constant loading screens. And although Starfield saw the evolution of their proprietary game engine, its limitations are apparent. No Man's Sky has roughly the same concept of gameplay for its space exploration, but there aren't loading screens. Starfield has so many loading screens bogging down the experience, the novelty of the space exploration portion is ruined, as more than half the time you're exploring, it's on a loading screen. The UI in general also pissed me off beyond belief. Whether it be going into my inventory, checking a mission, leveling up, or just trying to check the map, I had a whole section dedicated on how much I hate the map system in this game and how it needs further revamps for ease of use. But just trying to access other menus is also an inherent pain. I didn't want to make a video hating on Starfield, that isn't my intention. I've been excited since August to hop back into this due to my recent fascination with science fiction novels, but when all these different factors make the quality of life whilst playing the game so miserable, it makes me wonder how these haven't been fully addressed yet. I am happy to say I did see a lot of gameplay settings I could tweak to fit the experience I wanted, but these basic quality of life scales can't save the game from what's bogging it down. I've heard the rumblings that there is some large Starfield update slated for the near future that potentially looks to address these problems. But if the previous updates in the past 3 years still haven't really fixed this, my hope isn't that high that this can be addressed.
And to be honest, I don't know how you can fix the glaring problem with the lifeless planets.
So I imagine that isn't going to be touched on. I do hope for the best for this upcoming update, as I think this world and setting are so cool, and I would love to actually see what that storyline entails with the Shattered Space DLC. But at the moment, I truly find it a painful experience to sit down and play this game. And this is definitely not the intended feeling one should have when loading up something to play.
I'll keep tabs on this update because I'm genuinely interested to see if they can fix a lot of these glaring problems. The bottom line though is Starfield hasn't seen enough changes to make it fun to play for someone like me. And I do genuinely hope that they fix and address that. It's at that point in the video where I have to say, I'm just a small channel trying to make videos that I love to make, so a simple like goes a long way.
Check out my previous video on my return to No Man's Sky 10 years later to see if the game I bought a console to play is finally fun to play. Or subscribe for more, as my next video has me checking out Avowed. It was one of my most anticipated games of last year, but after coming out of my Kingdom Come 2 and Expedition 33 coma, I saw bad review after bad review and I put it on the back burner. Is it as bad as everyone says, or is its proximity to things like Dragon Quest Veilguard something that has bogged it down?
Until next time, my name is Easy Break. Toodaloo.